Well, we've got a lot to get to on this Tuesday, the 3rd day of March, 2026, for this Raw review, but also your reactions. I'm going to get through as many emails as I can. I got a lot of them, a lot more than I expected when it comes to the reactions to Danhausen and the rest of Elimination Chamber and Raw. So while this isn't a mailbag, given that I'm going to be going on vacation for a few days this week, I want to make sure that in the event that the end of this week is sloppy and I'm not able to record on a normal schedule, that you guys have your voices heard and I can respond. So I'll do the best I can. I promise. If your email isn't read, I apologize. I will bank it for when I return, unless I'm feeling real ambitious and do it in my hotel room, but I doubt that. So we'll see, though. We'll see. Now, let's talk about Monday Night Raw. We will get to the emails on the back half. I promise you. So here's the thing. I'm on TikTok, whether you guys believe it or not. If you didn't know I'm on TikTok, check it out. I put up a video about Danhausen and bitching about it, essentially that it's just one of the most ridiculous gimmicks I've ever seen, and I'm not going to give it a chance. And it's closing in on 10,000 views. I wouldn't call that viral, but if you are interested, check it out over on TikTok. Just search it out. You know what to search for. All right. So let's dive into Monday Night Raw. And let me just talk about Danhausen first, given that I made a video about it. I stand by my conviction that I am not going to give this a chance, or not give him a chance. Giving him a chance to be taken seriously is a bit of a conundrum, because while he does have some skill in backstage skits, and he is unique, I will grant him that from what I've seen on Raw. His gimmick is too outlandish and too cartoonish and too childish for me to ever be taken to any of it seriously. Particularly what we saw with his entrance is what I took issue with, and you heard my rant about it. I will grant him that backstage with his skits with the Judgment Day and Adam Pearce, that it wasn't horrific. It didn't change my mind to give this guy a chance that, oh my God, I may become a big fan. But at least there are skills there that he is utilizing that aren't so embarrassing, and they didn't do his entrance, which is a smart thing. That's a smart thing. But let's get into Monday Night Raw. We'll go through this quickly so we can get to those emails. All right. So we have Paul Heyman, Logan Paul, and Austin Theory at ringside. Heyman accused Rollins of stealing the Elimination Chamber win from Logan, and he referred to Rollins as Mr. Lynch and said they would stomp his ass out the next time he's in a ring. And he said that wasn't a prediction or a spoiler. It's a personal guarantee from the Vision. Austin Theory took the mic and said, "Here's my theory, and let's see if you idiots can follow me." He spoke about having history with Rollins before he was cut off by some "you suck" chants, and Logan Paul took the mic and boasted about how he eliminated 3 people from the chamber, and he added that the last person to do that was Brock Lesnar. Now, so I know it's kind of a quick analysis here, but the fact that Austin Theory still isn't getting a chance to really speak and kind of create a personality is problematic. I understand he had a quick little moment on the mic here with a couple of sentences, but you got to give him more than that. You have to. But Adam Pearce comes out with security, and he assumed the Vision attacked Jey Uso, and Heyman said they had nothing to do with it. What happened to Jey, but they would plead guilty in advance for what they were going to do with Rollins. He threw the mic towards Pearce. A masked man shows up. That person was run off by security. A second showed up and was chased over the barricade by Logan Paul. A third chased over the barricade by Theory. That allowed Heyman to be alone in the ring. And he saw another masked man, a fourth one. Or was it a fifth one? He shows up with a chair and the apron behind him. I think it was a fifth one, behind Heyman. And the fifth man unmasked and revealed himself to be Seth Rollins. He actually took a chair shot. Heyman took a chair shot to the back. I don't know if I've seen that. And then Rollins followed it up with a stomp, and he exited through the crowd and was cheered loudly, and Heyman was laying there, and eventually he got a bloody nose. I don't think it was because of the stomp. It was, I believe, just maybe a blood capsule. I don't think Heyman actually got a bloody nose from that. But either way, it was a good visual as he was being kind of wheeled into the ambulance. It's always interesting when a babyface takes out Heyman because you have to be careful the way you do it. Heyman is so good at what he does, and the fans do respect him, even if he's advocating on behalf of a heel. And he's so helpless, and you know he's a coward, but he's so talented that you have to really be careful when a babyface does something like this, that it doesn't turn the crowd against them, because it's such a mismatch. You don't want it to make it look like it's bullying or anything. So I think it was done fine. Heyman got what he deserved, and it didn't turn the crowd in any way against Seth Rollins. All right. We have LA Knight show up in the ambulance driver's seat. He was smiling, and Jimmy saw him, and he said he could take it from there. So LA Knight commandeers the ambulance and drives away with Paul Heyman. Fine. I mean, LA Knight needed something, at least LA Knight, even off the botch, which I don't think is a career killer. I know people are making a big deal out of it. Who cares? LA Knight, at least he was in the segment there where it kind of gives you a signal that he's still involved in the main event, but he's never involved in the title picture. That's seemingly what LA Knight does and has been defined to do forever, is just be a part of the main event, but never at the top. And that's still, I think, a success. But if you want LA Knight to be champion, it's just that it's just out of his reach, and it's been out of his reach for a while. So Gunther versus Dragon Lee took place, and we had some 2K26 scores shown for that. The match only went 6 minutes, with Gunther beating Dragon Lee, and he ripped his mask off, by the way, too, and he tapped out. That was good. I have no problem with it. You knew that if Dragon Lee is going to attack Gunther, that it would not end well for him. And it hasn't. It has not. One other thing about Danhausen as well, and this is kind of a theme when it comes to tattoos, a lot of them with the women too. Rhea Ripley is one of them. Stephanie Vaquer is another. I don't have anything with it wrong, an issue with, in principle, anyone getting tattoos. I have 3 of them. But when you have tattoos that are just outwardly demonic on your body, and Danhausen is one of them, he's got like a vampire bat of himself, but with horns. It's essentially, I mean, it's demonic in nature. It's not exact, but it's pretty damn close. Same with Rhea Ripley. Same with Stephanie Vaquer. Look, you can get tattooed on your body, whatever you want, but when you make it public, I get the opportunity and the right to comment on it. And it just tells me a lot about that person as like a human being, not as a wrestling character necessarily, but not exactly someone that I would want to be friends with. I'll just put it that way. Not that I need to be, but just wanted to comment on that. So we had some backstage stuff with Asuka yelling at a sheepish and emotional Kairi, because Kairi's just the little bitch of that group. And I wish she wasn't, but that's the way she's been cast. We have AJ Lee show up, though, and ask if Sane was good. When she didn't respond, Lee told her to blink twice if she needed help. Asuka yelled, and that was it. So we then have, let's see here. We have, Demolition's being added to the class of 2026. AJ Lee comes out, and Cole said Becky Lynch blamed referee Jessica Carr, who I believe every time Jessica Carr referees a Becky Lynch match, she's like 0-6. And she wants the match to be thrown out because of course she does. And Lee said the fans made her believe she could still fight the very best. And Lee said Lynch is the best of the best. And she beat her even though she gave her a fight, and said that she can still be championship material. Lee said Lynch is behind her and WrestleMania is ahead of her, and said she wasn't waiting until then and she would be a fighting champion. Because see what I'm talking about? Do you see this nonsense? Can we just have a babyface just once win the championship and not have to just declare by law that they're going to be a fighting champion? Can we just do that once? Just once. It is possible to frame it where it's smart not to be a fighting champion. In fact, I would argue that it's valuable to the championship itself, which the championship is above all challengers. It's above anybody, any individual person, no matter who they are. The championship should always be greater than that person, because everyone should be fighting for something greater than themselves. There's something a little poetic for you, but an argument that I've made many times, and it's falling on deaf ears. We still get this nonsense every time a babyface wins. It's the same declaration every time, all the time, instead of taking a different strategy, which is very possible. So Lee recalled saying she wanted to get her hands on a couple of women in the locker room and assumed they wanted to get their hands on her now that she had a championship. And she told the women in the back to come get her if they think they're championship material. And that was it. Fine promo from AJ Lee. Fine. Better than we've seen the last couple of weeks with her and Becky Lynch that were just horrific. So fine. I missed the crazy AJ Lee, the one that was kind of on the edge all the time. You didn't know which personality you were going to get or what would tip her off. I missed that AJ Lee. This AJ, of course, is older, and that's fine. But I think what endeared her to the audience was she was kind of crazy, but endearing and also good in the ring, and she's lost a little bit of that. Maybe she'll find it again, or maybe she just wants to move on with her character arc, and that's fine. But I miss the crazy AJ Lee. That version of her is what I think endeared her to fans to begin with. All right, I'm going to skip over some El Grande stuff and move on to the match they had with Rayo taking on the original El Grande. And that match went 10 minutes with the original El Grande beating Rayo after he hit the Chaos-style German suplex, got the 3 count. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez were shown playing darts inside this clubhouse that I won't name. And let's see. Dom said that now that Balor is over his loss to CM Punk, he hoped they could focus on his match. And Dom asked them to be at ringside, and McDonough said they would be. Balor recalled telling Dom that he had to do this on his own, and Dom claimed he just wanted them to celebrate with him afterward. So continuing to, again, tease for the 1400th time that Dom and Finn have tension, but there's never seemingly any payoff. But I don't know. The ending of this championship run for Dom is a bit concerning if you're looking for Finn versus Dom. And we all know what happened. We'll get to that in a minute. So we have Obafemi and a segment here with Rusev, and they eventually started trading hands, and Oba got the better of it, and Rusev ran the ropes, and he was put down with a spine buster, and Oba clotheslined Rusev over the top rope, and Oba got the best of Rusev. And we all know, without even seeing the matchup that's eventually going to happen with these two, what the outcome is. Obafemi wins. Rusev is being used as a pawn to elevate Obafemi. Period. End of story. There's nothing else to do here. Now, that's not to say that Rusev is a kind of totally washed up piece of talent. There is something still there, but right now what they're doing with him is very clear, and that's to elevate Obafemi. So, Austin Theory versus Jimmy Uso. Match went 2 minutes and 40 seconds with Jimmy beating Austin Theory by DQ because Logan Paul came in the ring. Jimmy dove at him and Theory returned to the ring, and the ref just disqualified him for Logan Paul's interference. After the match, Jey Uso's theme music played, and Jay showed up on the other side of the ring and had crutches while he and Jimmy used them to run off Theory and Logan Paul, and that was it. So Jey Uso is still in the good graces of the audience, and you do wonder if the reason Jay was removed from the chamber is so that the crowd didn't turn on him. I do wonder, they must have actual plans for Jey Uso if he was being removed from the chamber, because Jey Uso in the chamber, from just a pure physical standpoint, would have done more than just fine. Now, Logan Paul is the up-and-coming talent still. He does need more minutes in front of fans. Him getting 3 pinfalls at the chamber was significant. But, you do wonder, too, is this to try to mitigate any kind of backlash from the fans against Jey Uso, because the fans at times have been very close to turning on Jey. Very close. So backstage, Adam Pearce was on the phone, blah, blah. Again, that was a segment with Danhausen. It was fine. I actually didn't really hate it. His entrance, though, is just, no matter what goodwill he has with the backstage stuff, and if you want to live there for a little while, I think you can. Where he'll get his momentum is backstage, where he's not so, he's not looked at as a complete clown, although he does kind of act like one. He delivers his lines well, but again, I'm not going, oh, you're going back. No, I'm not. No, because guess what? All of that goodwill that he has backstage and all the comedic segments he has backstage that might or might not hit, most of them probably won't. It'll all get erased when he comes out with those women again and does his cartoon dance. It'll all go away, and the fans will go, "Oh, yeah, this sucks." I think you know what? I could be totally dead wrong on this, and he ends up being a complete success in the WWE. And for the greater good of the company, I actually hope that happens. I'll take the hit if this ends up being a success. I don't care, right? What have I got to lose? Just that I was wrong about a guy that sucked as an entrance, and he is the complete polar opposite of what I look for in pro wrestling. But if he ends up being a success with the fans supporting him and he ends up being elevated and the crowd gets behind him, cool. Look, I know some of you have reached out to me and said you like him, and I hope you do. Great. Everybody likes their different wrestlers. This is certainly not mine, but I hope he is a success. All right. So we have, I know I'm skipping over some Judgment Day stuff, but I'm just trying to get to emails here. I don't want to eat up too much time. We have Rhea Ripley standing on stage here as the winner of the women's chamber match. And Redman asked Rhea Ripley how it feels about challenging Jade. And Ripley said it has been a whirlwind of emotions over the past few days because she and Sky lost the tag titles, and said it sucked because Sky has been her opponent, her partner, and her best friend. Ripley said, and Sky hugged, and Ripley thanked her for pulling her out of a very dark situation. Sky said that Ripley would do the same for her, and Io said that she would be okay and happily spoke about Ripley winning the championship at WrestleMania. And she said she would do it for Sky and then told her to hold down Raw for her. I don't know. The only hook here is that Ripley is going to be going face to face with Jade Cargill at some point. Like, okay. Like, this was all about just, I guess, Rhea and Io having a moment together. This wasn't even about the championship. Like, Rhea Ripley just won the Elimination Chamber, which put her into the women's championship match at WrestleMania. And we're talking about Rhea Ripley and Io Sky having a moment. It was a little bit kind of jarring there. It was barely about Jade Cargill. But, okay. Dominic Mysterio versus Penta for the Intercontinental Championship. Boy, oh boy. Dominic Mysterio loses the belt here in 15 minutes and 40 seconds. I guess because Danhausen said he was cursed. I don't know. Penta ends up winning. Penta is your new Intercontinental Champion. And he hit the Mexican Destroyer to do it and got the victory. So Penta wins. I don't, need... So here's the thing. Apparently, when Danhausen says someone's cursed, they're going to lose. And that's like a thing. So this analysis that I'm reading says that it's the frustration here was they could have done without the very bad, very needless curse that tipped off the title change. It also felt like the title change was more about creating issues with the Judgment Day than it was about Penta. Well, I don't know why they couldn't have just kept the belt on Dom. And there's been issues within the Judgment Day for like years. Like we didn't need to have a title change to highlight those issues. Those issues are well documented. And now it looks like we could have a Dom versus Penta versus Finn Balor for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania deal. I hope not. To me, it's a story about Dom and Finn, and that's it. But if they want to bring in Penta, it seems like that's what they're going to do now. Then here we go. I mean, the match obviously is going to be great, but the story is about Dom and Finn if we get there. So, Penta's your new Intercontinental Champion. Roman Reigns and CM Punk had their face-off here. Some good zingers. Roman Reigns did stumble over a few words. That's Roman's style. He's not on Punk's level. He's just not. He's not as embarrassing as he once was. As I've said, Roman Reigns has come a long way and is good to very good at times on the mic now, which it's taken him a long time to get there. But CM Punk is, as we all know, in his own stratosphere when it comes to ability on the microphone. And there were some zingers here. So something from Roman. He said, Phil, let's remind you real quick. We brought you back here to entertain the 30 and 4-year-old versions that live with their mom and dad. We brought you back here to sell a few t-shirts here and there and maybe draw a house in Chicago. But we didn't bring you back to be champion. That's too much responsibility for you. That's too much power. It's above your pay grade. And Reigns said Punk can post Instagram photos, making it seem like he's having a good time and he's a locker room leader. But Reigns said Punk can lie in interviews and tweet that he's hanging out with his cousins. But the truth is that Punk is bitching backstage and they can't wait to tell him whenever he comes around. Okay. So the mic drop moment, of course, was at the end. Was when he said that Punk said he's going to bury Roman Reigns, but not to worry, you won't be alone. I'll bury you next to your father. That was it. And then the credits rolled. Literally the credits. That was a good line. Was it as good as their first encounter? You can make an argument. They continue to build this very well without laying a hand on one another. And I don't care if they don't lay a hand on each other until WrestleMania. I've been a proponent of that kind of build leading into WrestleManias forever. I don't need brawls and pull-aparts and weeks of pull-apart brawls, and I don't need that. You build something much more effectively when it's with words, because that's what makes people want to see you get physical. You don't give them the physicality all the time. You don't have to. Do I think they'll be able to last another 5-6 weeks? No, more than that. No, this is 5-6 weeks, whatever it is. Without having those two get into a brawl? No, but that's at least how I would book it. So good. A good Raw. I'd say it's a good show. It didn't blow me away, but I think it built nicely towards WrestleMania for a few programs. Didn't do much for Rhea Ripley, who, again, barely mentioned Jade Cargill and mostly was talking about Io Sky. So I think they have an amicable split here as a tag team, which I'm glad happened. There was no real animosity at all between the two, and there shouldn't be. They were very much just hanging on each other figuratively and literally for the last several months. And they did a nice job as a tag team. But I now need Rhea Ripley to squarely focus on Jade. I don't want to hear anything more about Io Sky at all, ever. It's about Jade. So I do wonder what the promos are going to be with those two. That should be interesting. All right, let's get to the emails. Let's talk to patron JM. He says, hope you're doing well. This is more of a venting email. All I can say is, as a Chicago resident, I'm so glad I didn't buy a ticket for the Chamber. What a major disappointment. I barely remember Vampire Paint Guy in the box from AEW. I have tried for several months to get into AEW and I could not do it. On a side note, if TKO increases their prices for ESPN for this crap and the quality of content continues to drop, I'm gone. I will watch the highlights later on YouTube. You, me, and JD from New York are mad as hell, and as we should be. Also, with WrestleMania coming up, WWE knows they royally screwed up WrestleMania last year in Vegas, which is why they're having it again this year. Thanks and have a good one. Well, they're having it again this year because they made the most money they've ever made from WrestleMania. I mean, wouldn't you want to go back to the place that you made the most money ever and think you can duplicate that result? I mean, they think they're going to. I don't think they will. They may come close this year, but based on ticket prices and just general interest in the product, I don't think they'll get to whatever number they got to last year. I forget what astronomical number it was. Like several tens of millions of dollars. I forget the real figure. But that's what they're trying. It's all about money, JM. Anytime you need to wonder, it's just about money. They want a mulligan based on last year's disastrous end to WrestleMania. They like to save face and try to erase that feeling you had. But more importantly, moreover, what they're focused on is the dollar. They want to go back and make as much money as they did last year. So as far as ESPN, look, The $9.99 WWE Network that was just awesome is a thing of the past. I miss it. And now ESPN's unlimited of $30 a month. That's on top of the other streaming services you have to have if you don't have cable to watch the rest of the WWE's products. It's for a lot of people unmanageable because it's just another subscription on top of how many subscriptions we all have, right? So do I think they'll eventually drop the price of ESPN Unlimited? I actually don't know if they will, because ESPN Unlimited is not just exclusive to WWE. It allows you obviously a bunch of other stuff from ESPN, the other sports that they offer. So I don't think they'll do that. So, but it is ridiculous. And I'm glad you didn't buy a ticket either, especially if you look at it and say, whew, boy, I saved myself how many hundreds of dollars, right? And headaches and parking and merch and food and whatever else you get there for an overpriced dollar figure. Yeah. And people are seeing that now. And when you raise the price of something and decrease the quality of it, you're going to reach a breaking point. It's guaranteed. There is just a 100% chance that it eventually will go south for you. And they're trying to find that kind of figure right now. I don't think they're actively trying to decrease the quality of the product. It ebbs and flows, but right now they've never been in a place where we've never had higher ticket prices, and yet the product quality is decreasing during the most important time of the year. And some of that's due to injury, which I can't fault them for, but a lot of it is due to just poor booking decisions, bad debuts, unrealistic expectations, Triple H saying things are going to be epic when they're barely lukewarm. Yeah, so that's just the way it goes. Thank you. And thanks for being a patron. I'm trying to see if I have any other patrons here, because I will prioritize you. Boy, oh boy, a lot of emails. Okay. Let's go to Kay from Toronto. You're next, because I haven't talked to you in a while. So Kay says, thanks for what you do. The Chamber. Let's start with, I fully agree with you. The reveal of Danhausen was shameful. I've been watching wrestling for 50 years, and that was the worst ever. Complete garbage. The rest was okay, but predictable. Finn and Punk was a great match, but I hate Punk. Yeah, well, if you hate Punk, so what I would try to recommend you do is, despite if you hate somebody, try to just, if you can, to enjoy the match, just look at it through a pure physical standpoint. Just try to look at it as, let's just look at it through a pure wrestling standpoint, try to take the characters out of it. If you're at that point where you just don't want to watch a main event, especially because you hate a wrestler, that's what I'd recommend. But as far as, the Danhausen, again, I don't know what more to say about it. It was shameful is a great word for it. Great adjective. Shameful is a perfect description of what that was. Again, I can say that and also have it be true that I truly do hope this is a success, because I'm a proponent of pro wrestling. But what I'm watching, to me, this is not pro wrestling. Like I'm certainly no fanboy or just blind supporter of WWE. I criticize them probably more than most podcasters, but I am willing to allow and root for a guy I find his character anyway, not as a person, but as a character. I find his presentation just disrespectful to pro wrestling itself and very cartoonish. But I also would forego that for just to help WWE succeed to a higher level, if that makes any sense at all. Probably not. It's too late. I'm very tired tonight. Okay, on Raw, it seemed like a bit of a filler show, nothing outstanding, except maybe I will eat my words on Punk as his verbal to Roman was great. All else, so-so. The Danhausen attempt at comedy at Finn was brutal. He should F off now. Awful. I totally see what you mean. I actually think there were a couple of segments with Danhausen that he was kind of sprinkled throughout the night. Not all of them were awful. There were some that were bad, some that were just terrible. He needs to go all in with this and not try to tongue-in-cheek it. And he doesn't believe in what he's doing. He's got to go all in at this point. And if he does, he's going to sink or swim. And right now, I think he's barely staying afloat with most fans. They were smart not to put his entrance out there last night, and they just had him backstage. If he wants to live backstage and they have a few moments that let me chuckle, fine. But again, I still think overall his character, his presentation is just an abomination to pro wrestling. It's a cancer to pro wrestling. And I'm not hoping he gets fired. I'm not, I'm wishing anything bad for Danhausen. I hope he finds success. I just, as a fan, I have a certain like bar or level that I will not cross when it comes to accepting certain pro wrestling characters. And Danhausen goes way beyond that line. Way beyond it. I'm kind of with you there. But all right. Kay, thank you. Okay. Who do I pick? All right, Dennis, let's do it. He says, "Hey, Matt, I hope you and the listeners are doing well. I watched the Elimination Chamber this morning. There was some very good wrestling. I enjoyed that much, but Danhausen was in the box. What an effing joke and letdown. He will bring nothing to WWE, an 80s character if anything. I'd rather watch paint dry, another letdown. Michael Cole mentioned Chris Jericho by name during the Punk Balor match, so expect Jericho to make a return soon. Probably at WrestleMania against Lesnar. They have beef with each other. Great to see Rollins at the Chamber. I think if I think of a Mania, it will be Logan Austin versus Rollins and Knight. Talk soon." Yeah, the 80s character reference is a good analogy, a good comparison. I think that's kind of where it felt like it originated from. It felt like I was watching Saturday morning cartoons or like something right out of Scooby-Doo. It felt like they were trying to make a cartoon come to life, and that's not my version of pro wrestling. I don't even know, again, what audience they're marketing to with that presentation. I don't know. Whatever. I've given my thoughts. I don't want to keep repeating my Danhausen opinion, but the 80s comparison is good. And the Chris Jericho, I'm glad you brought that up, because as we all know, Punk said in his promo with Reigns on Raw, "You made the list," and he said it real quick and then moved on. It was almost like it was just slid in there. Now, either he realized what he said would get an illicit reaction to Chris Jericho, and he kind of in the moment, well, crap, yeah, they're going to think of Jericho. I want them to focus on me. Or he did that on purpose. I mean, you choose which path that you want to take. But with the Michael Cole mention as well, yeah, I think that Jericho is on his way back. Should he face Lesnar right away? That would fit. That would certainly fit. They do have beef, real beef, that we've talked about. Well, if you've been paying attention in the last, 10, 12, maybe more years of actual beef with Jericho backstage, where he tried to fight Brock Lesnar, because when Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton had a SummerSlam match back in, 2014? Maybe it was later than that, where Randy Orton got busted open by Brock for real, but it was planned, that Jericho didn't know it was planned. So there was real beef back there. I mean, they could certainly do that. Yeah. Why not Jericho versus Lesnar? Sure. Kind of a weird combo that no one really thought about offhand, but when you dig into it, there is stuff there. So good stuff. Thanks, Dennis. Let's go. Boy, oh boy, where do we want to go? I'm going to spin the wheel and see where it lands. Let's go to Curtis. He says, "Hey, Matt, I've been listening to your show since 2021. Well, cool. Very cool. You see, you never know who's listening. It could be my best friend, my worst enemy, an ex-girlfriend. Who the hell knows? I have no idea. No idea. It's, I'm not saying you're any of those, Curtis, but just you made me think about the fact I have no idea who's listening to this. It's kind of a scary and cool thought at the same time. So you're saying, I just wanted to say how much I agree with you about the mystery crate. I was generally so embarrassed about it because my girlfriend, who isn't even a wrestling fan, literally came out of the living room and thought I was watching an effing Scooby-Doo or something. Oh my God, that's too weird. It's god awful. I couldn't agree more. P.S. I love also how you're making your podcast more for adults. Well, yeah, I kind of, in the language that I use in the last couple of shows, I might continue to do it, and I'm not doing it just to try to be cool or be edgy or get clicks. In fact, it actually hurts my podcast to be a little bit profane because advertisers are a little bit more resistant to explicit contact or explicit content. So me cursing isn't, trust me, it actually hurts my wallet, but I don't care because I have a platform I want to use. And if the storyline or the reaction to a segment warrants it, I'm going to use it. And if you've noticed, I haven't really been cussing throughout the show to just be like, see, I'm edgy. I do it when I feel it, and that's the way it's going to be. But as far as the Scooby-Doo, that is too weird. I literally did not see your email before I made the Scooby-Doo reference. So that's really strange. Another synchronicity that more evidence we're living in the Matrix, because I really didn't. The Scooby-Doo, it's exactly what it feels like though, doesn't it? And I love Scooby-Doo, but only when I want to watch Scooby-Doo. I don't watch Scooby-Doo thinking, oh my God, it'd be really cool right now if this could be suddenly about space travel. Like, no, I'm watching Scooby-Doo to watch Scooby-Doo. Don't try to make it something else. Boy, if you had told me I would talk about Scooby-Doo this much on my show tonight, I would have never, ever believed you. Curtis, thank you so much, my friend. And keep listening. I'll try to this is a podcast that I have made it much more adult over the last year or so. But I want everyone to know, like, it's not just to cuss. And I won't ever cuss to cuss. But be forewarned that if you have previously got your kids in the room or whatever, I would put headphones on. I mean, of course, you can listen to it or not, and that's totally up to everybody if they want to continue to listen. But the show is, I think, morphing into a little bit more of an adult language show. So just keep that in mind, guys. If you do have kids, you listen in the car or whatever, I want to be forthright. Okay. Boy, where do we go? We still got a whole boatload, guys. You think I'm just getting started with these emails? I'm trying to go to some shorter ones. All right. So Shane, do you think they're milking the dead dog thing on purpose for sympathy? Surely AJ doesn't actually mean she will never love again. That's cringe. Yuck. And what Shane is talking about, if you're wondering, what the hell is he talking about? Well, we had AJ Lee on the post show be asked about her dog and how there were signs in the audience for Larry, very famous dog, as we all know, from CM Punk posting about his dog Larry dying. And again, sad. It is objectively sad that if you have a family pet that you love and it dies, yes, anytime anything you love dies, it's sad. But if you didn't know that AJ was talking about her dog and you had no context beforehand, you would have thought, wow, Larry. Oh, Larry. Wow. Did she have a miscarriage, or did her son die abruptly, or did a family member that she was close to die, or maybe a Make-A-Wish child that she visited die? And that's what you would think. No, it's just a dog. And again, I say it's just a dog, but I'm sorry, in comparison to a human being, especially if you have kids, and I guess if you have kids, this is much easier to speak to that than if you're on the outside going, well, a dog is no, it's not. Okay. A dog does not have the same value as a human being. It just doesn't. It doesn't mean you should treat them poorly. I'll continue to say that, or do anything to harm them. That's not what I'm implying. I'm just implying that when you have children and you hear somebody talk about a dog like AJ does, it's laughable. It's also kind of sad. And do I think she actually does mean that or doesn't? I don't know. I mean, I genuinely believe that they felt that this was their child. I mean, that's the way they're talking about the dog. I understand. I know people in my life that I won't mention because I don't know if they're listening, that they're childless and they have dogs, and their whole life is their dog, and they're married and everything else. But their whole life, they don't have kids though. That's the key. They don't have kids, and this is my own life. Not speaking to people that are married or have dogs and are childless. I'm talking about, this is my own personal experience in my life. That to me, there's those people in my life. I find that I think it's because they're too selfish to have children, and not that everybody should have children. whatever. But when you try to humanize a dog into an actual human being and you talk and speak and treat them like a child, that's, I think, where it crosses the line into just, I'm too selfish to have an actual child. And that's all there is to it. But that's, again, my own personal preference or my own personal experiences in my own life. Again, very isolated, right? Everybody has their own experiences that sometimes they generalize, which is incorrect. Anyway, I'm going too deep. Thank you, Shane. All right. Okay, let's go to Sam. Sam says, while it's cool Seth turned, there's no Braun Breaker for him to face. Bronson Reed is also out in the picture. He's faced Logan Paul at WrestleMania, and Austin Theory doesn't sound WrestleMania worthy. What if he faced Paul Heyman in an ODQ match? It would play out like a fun 3-on-1 with Heyman not taking too many bumps. At first, I actually was taken back by this. Having Heyman involved in any kind of match is, of course, a joke. However, this isn't insane. It's not. Because Paul Heyman would have a ton of backup. And I don't want Paul Heyman really taking any bumps. I'm actually concerned for him as a human being, like taking any bumps at all. I actually don't like seeing Paul Heyman get beat up. John Cena's done it. We've seen Brock Lesnar do it. I take issue with it. Even if Paul Heyman's the heel, I don't like seeing it because it concerns me. I understand I can take it. I'm healthy, but like also you're still 60, man, and you're obviously overweight, and I don't need you blowing out a knee or something happen. I genuinely don't want anything to happen to Paul Heyman, even if it is on a limited basis. It only takes that one wrong slip, one wrong move, one wrong muscle twitch, and he's down. Now, again, I'm not asking him to do moonsaults, which is really a funny visual, but I don't hate this idea. I don't hate it. However, the only downside to that, even if you're able to do it safely, and Paul Heyman obviously wouldn't take a bunch of bumps, it would take the focus off of the actual talent in the ring. Paul Heyman is cast as a manager, as an advocate, as a oracle, whatever. It's all the same. It's under the same umbrella of tasks and duties. You can label it whatever you want. It's still the same thing he does. But it would take the focus off the talent in the ring and put it on Paul Heyman. When's he going to tag in? And I don't need the talent being focused on Paul Heyman. I want them focused on each other. While Paul Heyman could still get physically involved on the outside, make a trip, you throw some brass knucks in, he could do the dirty stuff. But putting him as a part of the actual match would be fun in the sense that no one's ever seen that. But I think it would divert your attention to him rather than whatever else anyone's doing in the ring, which ultimately would be a net negative. But if they do it, I mean, I'll watch for sure. I've never had anyone propose that. Good stuff. Okay. My goodness. Mario says, I tried to get on the podcast a few months, but it seems like you weren't interested in my time, or at the time. My YouTube channel has been growing as well as my skills on the mic. I like the edgy approach you've taken on the Chamber preview show, and I think it's time you try and have a guest on that's been watching WWE for 20 years. Give me a chance on one of your weekly review shows. I'm guessing this wasn't supposed to be part of this show, but guess what it is. Or the Raw review, and you won't be disappointed. It won't cost you anything, and I can assure you it'll be a smooth show. Remember, my schedule's flexible. Okay, Mario, look, it's certain nothing against you. I've had so many inquiries over the last several months and years. People have got lost in the sauce, and that's genuinely the reason. It's nothing against, hey, I don't want this person. I've had people like that in the past. I'll be honest. Like, I've had people that I've just said no, definitely no. Like, they've sent me samples, and if you were one of those people, I wouldn't be talking about you on the air. So I would have just moved on to another email. But Mario, it's simply that my time is super limited. I can barely do the show as it is now with this few shows I record per week with everything else I have going on. But let me take a look at your YouTube channel again. I'm guessing, is it No Travel, No Vita? I'm guessing because that's how you signed the email. If it is, I'll take a look. But again, this week is crazy for me with travel here, there, and everywhere. And I'll be back Sunday night, but I'll be back Sunday night. That doesn't mean anything because I'm going to be exhausted. So I'll be back to a regular schedule sometime early next week. So thanks, Mario. All right. Oh boy. Where do I want to go? Because we still got a bunch. Yeah, you're like, wow, you got all the emails today. Yeah, I do. Okay. Let's talk to Shane. All right, Shane. Shane says, sorry, I forgot to mention with the other Larry email. I do like and respect Cody, but they're just asking for him to get booed if he's going to be in a storyline opposite Randy Orton. Unless you're planning for him to go heel, he isn't going to get cheered over Orton, who's a true legend. Cody is over and popular, but I don't think he'll get the same love. Orton's been there, done it. He's got the respect. I think a lot of people are kind of tired of him because he's the very cookie cutter opposed to someone who will just RKO anybody, which is honestly a better kind of babyface. Yeah, they certainly need to be careful with Cody, but they've gotten a lot out of the Cody Rhodes babyface run. So even if it happens by accident, they don't really plan for it. Cody's been a babyface for a few years now, since he debuted and returned, I should say, to WWE. So even if it happens, I don't think it would really derail them. It would be actually, I think, open up a new door for Cody, open up a new door for Randy. But it would actually, I think, really be fun to see Cody Rhodes. That actually may be the big ticket item that happens at WrestleMania. We have a Cody Rhodes heel turn. Because Randy Orton's turned heel so many times with an RKO out of nowhere on somebody. Like, we've seen it, and it's fun, but I would like to see what a Cody Rhodes heel turn does. Having Randy turn heel wouldn't get a whole lot of people excited because we've seen it so dozens and dozens of times over his career, just so many times. And he is a true legend, and he is incredibly gifted still. But for Cody to turn heel would be much more newsworthy. So I would be a big proponent of that. I think they need to replan it if they don't want him to make him look like a chump. It's kind of awkward when the guy you're pushing is getting a lower reaction. No offense to him, but yeah, we need a Cody heel turn. Even if Orton goes heel, I think he gets cheered anyway. Yeah, that's kind of the argument I'm making too, is Randy Orton is beloved. Even when he's a true heel and he's at his peak, the RKO is so beloved that it's hard to boo him. He's so talented, and the RKO is just, it will forever be an awesome move. One of the best finishes of all time. So I would agree. As I've said before, huge Orton fan, but I gather some truth to what I'm saying as everyone seemed pleased with Orton won the Chamber. I'm actually hoping it's going to be Cody versus Orton solo. Cody can still win it from Drew, which is true. On Friday, it's a championship match. Drew versus Aldis is a good attraction match. That could happen, yeah. Anyway, it was smart because they need something to rival Punk and Roman on the other brand's main event, and someone like Fatu just doesn't cut it. Maybe a triple threat, but I feel like you don't need Drew there. I'm a huge McIntyre fan, but if it's a triple threat with he, Rhodes, and Orton, he's kind of an afterthought. But he might be an afterthought, but isn't it the best possible matchup? Maybe. Because, I mean, Aldis versus Drew does not... That match, if it happens, should not be at WrestleMania. It could be post-Mania at like some Saturday night main event. You don't bring Aldis out of his managerial role, which he's done an excellent job of, and slot him into a big WrestleMania match. I don't think you do that. Again, the match can happen, just not at WrestleMania. And you know my thoughts on Fatu. He is nowhere near ready for the main event. We'll see if WWE feels the same way. But don't tell Fatu that, because according to him, we're not allowed to, we're just supposed to shut up. We're supposed to shut up and just be quiet and eat whatever we're fed by WWE, because we don't want to hurt his tummy if we say something bad. So your secret's safe. I promise I won't tell anyone that you're advocating for Fatu to not be a part of the main event because he doesn't cut it. I promise I won't tell anyone, okay? All right. So, thanks, Shane. Okay. Maybe one more. Maybe. All right. Let's talk to Larson. This will be our final one. And I know there's a couple more here. I know I've got, and let me just shout out to these people, because otherwise, I mean, I feel like I don't give them their due here. And I'll keep these unread so that on my next show that I do, whenever it is, I may have a surprise show. that I do, I will acknowledge them. Okay. It's Chris from DC and Tristan. All right. So Greg from DC and Tristan, I will get to your emails. I promise. All right. So if you're wondering, oh, you didn't talk. Well, it's just because I want to get through as many as I can. You guys have longer emails, which I appreciate, but I'll get to them probably sooner than you think. All right. So let's end it with Larry here. Says, hey there, man. Thank you for all the great work on the pod. I just subscribed recently because I just returned to wrestling. Cool. I feel like you're my twin in the North. I'm down South. We are the same age and pretty much I agree with everything you say. Wow. Okay. Well, I don't know. Twins in terms of just maybe wrestling knowledge and fandom. I doubt we look the same. I doubt it, but that'd be even crazier, right? So I just came back to WWE after being gone for 20 years. Wow. What piqued my interest to return? Heard Jericho may be coming back for the Rumble, and I was saying, oh, I got to see this. Man, that was a rough Rumble and a bad spot for me to return. Yeah, it was. But I've been sticking with it weekly, and I got to say, while it is certainly not what you and I grew up with in the Monday Night Wars and Attitude Era, if we just accept it for what it is, there is enjoyment there. Both PLEs have been meh to me, and only a few of the Raws have really got me feeling it again, but it's still enjoyable. I wanted to comment to you saying sometimes it's just utterly embarrassing. And yes, I agree. But if you think back to even the golden days of the 90s and 2000s, man, there was some awful cringy stuff. It's just part of the product. And I just shut my brain off and try to enjoy it and have a good time. The vampire thing was atrocious though. But yeah, very impressed with the wrestling and technical skills right now, but there isn't a lot of star power that moved the needle, especially in the men. The women rock, however. I'm struggling to latch on to any male star. Punk doesn't do it for me, neither does Cody, but all in all, it's good to be back. Thanks again for all the hard work. I'll keep listening. Well, Larson, thank you. And a couple points here. Yeah, there was some cringy stuff. I know that we all look back with rose-colored glasses at the Attitude Era as if they never did anything wrong and everything was perfect and it was the best show. Every week was just the best Raw you've ever seen. That's not true. But here's the thing. That era produced so many great moments that the crap is overshadowed tenfold, right? It's not that we acknowledge that shit didn't exist and that there wasn't really bad stuff that was really bad gimmicks with overacting and everything. Of course. But there was so much good that came out of that era between 98 and especially 2002, that 4-year period, which is really the core of the era. That the other stuff you don't even remember. It's those moments and those matches that overshadow everything that maybe didn't work. And also what overshadowed it and made it so great is the star power. As you mentioned, you're struggling to connect with a male star because the star power it's always and forever going to be the lifeblood of the company. Forever. Star power will drive the success of any organization, entertainment based or sports based. It will forever be what drives the company forward. And when you have an all-star roster like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, The Rock, Kane, Undertaker, Big Show, Chris Jericho, go down the list. At one point, The Rock Hulk Hogan was there, Nash, Scott Hall, Goldberg eventually came. Brock Lesnar. When you have a star-studded all-time cast there, it will deodorize a lot of the garbage segments that we saw because you don't even think about it because all you care about is what's Stone Cold doing tonight? What's The Rock doing tonight? Is Austin going to get revenge? Is Taker going to crucify? There's just the characters were so deep and it was also based on wrestling. It was based on wrestling and focused on what was going on in the ring. Today's product is much more produced and it's very much polished and it's almost too well done where they've gone so far that it doesn't make anything feel organic anymore. You know when segments are going to end. You know when when a promo is being read in someone's mind the way that they deliver it. You know when the credits roll. They have credits now that the show is going to end. There's very little kind of excitement about the show of anything could happen. That feel of anything could happen has really faded because of how polished everything is, from production to in-ring to promos, that it doesn't feel like an off-the-cuff show anymore. And we all knew it wasn't to begin with, but at least you could really believe that it was. It felt like that. And also, don't forget too, if you're my age, back in the late 90s and early 2000s, how old were we? I mean, I was 15, 16, 17, right? I was right in that impressionable, rebellious, perfect age to be for Attitude Era, right? I mean, we were in that it was the peak of the peak. And as we've gone older, I mean, we're more sensitive to the stuff that's just terrible. But if you can shut your brain off, more power to you. I try. I certainly try. I mean, but sometimes it's overshadowing the good. And it's not all the time. I probably bitch about the product more than most, and I try not to, but I call it like it is. And I'll still love the product. That's just, it's hard for me to ever just totally detach from it. But anyway, thanks, Larson. And thank you to all the emailers. Again, I will get to Greg. I'll get to Tristan on my next show. But that'll do it for me. I appreciate everybody for support of the show. I appreciate you guys, going to Patreon or going to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and subscribing. Really does help me out and continues this show forward if you wanted to. So speaking of which, if you want to go ad free, patreon.com/WWE podcast. That'll do it for me. Again, guys, I'm traveling this week. I'll be traveling Thursday. I'm back Sunday. And if I sneak in a show in between now and then, it'll be a minor miracle, but I'm not saying it's impossible, just unlikely. So things may be a little weird this week. Don't fret, though. Again, I'm only gone for a few days. I'll get back to my normal schedule early next week. So send your emails and they will be answered, I promise. That'll do it, everybody. Thanks so much. We'll talk next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.